filming that video, it was definitely the wolves. When the wolves were like lunging at Jake and I, it was by far the scariest part. I'm just kidding. We didn't make that video, but hey, I have good news for you tonight. I don't know if you guys know this, because Jake preached from a huge computer last week, but his sermon was 20 pages long. 20 pages long. Would you like to see my sermon tonight? You know, the sad thing is that it's going to be the same length as Jake's probably. By the time we're done, guys, it is time to start a new series. We're so glad that you guys are here with us. In case you missed out or have slept a couple times since last week, let me tell you what happened in the past couple of weeks. Our first series of this new embassy format was simply called Why. And in Why, we wanted to ask and answer the question, why are we here? Why does embassy exist, and why are you here? And so last week we gave you guys, or actually 2 weeks ago, we gave you guys the new embassy mission statement. And as such, I'm going to have Andrew put that up on the screens for us back here. He's going to scramble to the computer, and he's going to put that up, and we're going to read this together. Embassy exists to create a culture that equips disciples through the power of the Holy Spirit to influence the world by making disciples. Thank you so much for reading along with me. I could really tell that you guys were into it. I really, really appreciate that. And so that's what we spent the last 2 weeks talking about, is why are we here and why are you here? And as we're preparing ourselves, guys, the point of a mission statement is that everything filters through the mission statement. And so everything that we're going to be doing for the rest of this semester and for the foreseeable future is going to be filtered through that lens right there. And as Jake and I were preparing our sermon series for this fall, one thing that became really clear really quickly was that if we're going to equip disciples through the power of the Holy Spirit to influence the world by making disciples, part of the disciple-making process is this thing called sanctification, right? And that's simply inviting God into your hearts and into your lives and then allowing him to work to make you more like Jesus. And as such, what we're going to be talking about for the next month, hey, could you put the cards down for me? We'll get there eventually, I promise. We're going to be talking for the next month in this series called I Declare War. And what we're declaring war on is the things that we think and the things that we say and the things that we do. So first off tonight, the question that I just want to ask us is, what do you need to declare war on? Do you need to declare war on the things that you're thinking about? Do you need to declare war on the things that you're talking about or the things that you're saying? Do you need to declare war on the things that you're doing? If you're anything like me, probably the answer is simply yes. I need to declare war on all of those things because there are things in each of those three categories that I find myself struggling with. The things that we think about, the things that we say, and the things that we do, guys, these are doorways. Right? And these doorways lead us to things. They lead us in directions. And every single thing that comes through our mind or through our mouth or through our hands is a doorway that we are choosing to walk through. As we're preparing to walk through these doorways, there's a couple of questions that we need to ask ourselves. The first question that we need to ask ourselves is, where is this door leading me? Where is this door leading me? And the second question is similar to it, but a little bit different. Is this somewhere that I want to go? Those aren't the only doorways in our life, fortunately, that which we think about and that which we say and that which we do. Jesus actually defined himself in John chapter 10 as a door. He was speaking to his disciples, and he said, we'll put it up on the screens for you so that you guys can see it and read along with me. I'll have to turn this way because it's not on the back screen. So he said, yes, I am the gate. Those who come in through me will be saved. The thief's purpose is to steal and to kill and destroy. My purpose, however, is to give them, that's you, a rich and satisfying life. Thank you for the energy there, Mike. I appreciate reading along with me. Didn't necessarily need you to do it that time, but you're on it. You were great, both of you. Interesting shirt. Jesus defines himself also as a door, and those that come through him will be saved. So if you want to head in the right direction, if you want to go to the right places and do the right things, the door to walk through is Jesus. That sounds easy, sounds simple. I wish that it was. I wish that it was easy, and I wish that it was simple. Unfortunately, if you're anything like me, you guys know the daily struggle of declaring war on the things that we allow into our heads and into our mouths and out of our hands. Fortunately, we together are not alone in that process. Paul, in Romans chapter 7, really finds himself struggling with that right along. It'll be on the screen again behind me. Thanks, Andrew, for that. I appreciate it. I don't have to awkwardly turn around. He says, I want to do what is right, but I can't. Don't read. It's cool. I appreciate it. Just read along silently, but you don't have to read. It's fine. I want to do what is right, but I can't. He says, I want to do what is good, but I don't. I don't want to do what is wrong, but I do it anyway. Oh, what a miserable person that I am. Who will free me from this life dominated by sin and death? Also, that's Romans 7, not Romans 8. My apologies there. Do you guys ever feel like that? That which I want to do, I don't do, and that which I don't want to do, that's what I end up doing. Do you guys ever feel like that? It's not a good feeling, is it? It's no fun to not do what you want to do, the good things, and to do the bad things that you don't want to do. Those are the things that come so naturally to us. So what we're going to be doing for the next 4 weeks is declaring war on the things that we think about and the things that we say and the things that we do, and inviting Jesus into the war along with us. See, the thing is that we can't change a problem that we don't know we have. You can't change a problem that you don't know you have, and you can't win a battle that you don't or won't acknowledge that you're in. So the first thing that we're going to do tonight, hopefully, is acknowledge the fact that we are, in fact, in a battle. And if we're not in a battle, if you're not actively declaring war on the things that you're allowing yourself to think and say and do, then maybe tonight what we need to do first is give you guys an opportunity to declare war. Theodore Roosevelt was a president of ours. You may have heard of him. His face is on a big rock in South Dakota. He's responsible for the national parks, things like that. He did some stuff, right? Before he did any of that, he was the United States Army. And as part of the United States Army, he kind of worked himself into this really elite group of fighting soldiers called the Rough Riders, right? Yeah, the Rough Riders, you know. The thing about it that was interesting for Theodore Roosevelt is that he'd never been in battle before whenever he made it to the Rough Riders. Like, he qualified for the Rough Riders without ever having been in battle before. So he's this elite fighting unit, and the guy's never fought before. So he didn't really have any context for what battle was like. He went through all of the training, and he went through all of the practice and all of the simulations on all of that stuff. And he said, no, I mean, it was just kind of a thing. But reflecting on his first battle, stepping into the field of battle and hearing the bullets whizzing by his head and feeling the explosion of cannons and hearing the cries of men fighting and dying, Theodore Roosevelt had this to say. He said, "A wolf rose up in my heart." A wolf rose up in my heart. I don't know if you're familiar with literature or symbols or anything like that, but a wolf is consistently a symbol for strength and for power, for loyalty, and for intuition. You see, for Theodore Roosevelt, something changed when he stepped onto the battlefield for the first time. Not the simulation, not the practices, but when Theodore Roosevelt stepped onto the battlefield, when he personally declared war for the first time, something changed in him. a wolf was released, rose up in his heart. And through everything else that Theodore Roosevelt accomplished in his entire life, from his presidency all the way forward, the thing that Theodore Roosevelt always pointed back to, the moment that his life changed, was the day that he stepped onto the battlefield for the first time. And he felt that wolf rise up in him. I'm not saying that the same thing's going to happen for you. I'm not saying that eventually you're going to found national parks and become president or anything like that, but maybe, just maybe tonight, in 10 years, in 5 years, next week, you can point yourself back to tonight and say, tonight, September 4th, 2019, I declared war on the things that I was thinking about, and on the things that I was saying, and on the things that I was doing, and a wolf rose up in me. We call that the Holy Spirit, friends. This wolf rose up in me, and my life was different from that point forward. So before we do anything else tonight, before we take steps or talk about anything else, what I want to do is give you guys a couple of moments. There are cards on the tables around you. There's also some Sharpies there. Anybody ever played the card game War before? Right? And so you get cards, right? You've got this deck, and you're putting these cards down, right? And you go until you put the same card down. Right? This is at least how we played at my house. You put the same card down, and then you have, depending on the card that it is, you have X amount of cards to declare war and try and win the deck, right? So we tonight are declaring war. We're putting our cards on the table, and what I want you guys to do with that card is take it, and for the next few minutes, think and reflect, pray. Invite God into this with you and say, God, what do I need to declare war on tonight? You can be as general as that what I think about, or that which I do, or that which I say. You can be as specific as, God, I need to declare war on the way that I talk about people when they aren't around. I need to declare war tonight on what kind of images that I allow into my head and the actions that I do because of those images. So I'm just going to step off stage. We'll put some music on, and I'm going to give you guys just a couple minutes. Write this out, because what's going to happen is you're going to take these cards home, and hopefully for the next month you guys are going to put this card in a place where you can see it and interact with it as a reminder to you that you have declared war tonight. So tonight, let Andrew not fall out of the chair. There we go. All right. So tonight, friends, the first thing that we want to declare war on is our thoughts. Not those kind of thoughts, even though maybe for some of you it is those kind of thoughts to declare war on. But for most of us, it's the things that we think about. Those kinds of thoughts are the things that we need to declare war on tonight. The Bible has a lot to say about what we think. Proverbs 23, verse 7, simply says this. It's short, sweet, but it says, "As a man thinks in his heart, so he is." As a man thinks, so he is. Another way to say that is, where you think is where you're going to go. Where you think is where you're going to go. A couple of years ago, at Winter Embassy, I took some student skiing, right? That's kind of what we do at Winter Embassy. And there are some of you guys, right, who are great skiers, and so you guys just disappear, and you guys are just all over the mountain, and I don't see you till the end of the day, and Foster comes back in shorts and with scabs all over his legs, right? That's pretty typical of how that kind of stuff goes. Well, there are also a lot of students who go to Winter Embassy who don't know how to ski at all. And somebody has to teach them, right? And because you guys are all jerks and you peace out, that means that I have to end up teaching these poor fools how to ski. So a couple years ago, I was teaching this guy how to ski. I won't say his name. You guys know who it is. I was teaching him to ski, and I taught him like all the things that my dad taught me about how to ski, right? Keeping your weight on your downhill foot and skiing across the mountain, not down the mountain, all of that kind of stuff. And this poor guy was just wasn't clicking for him. He was just not understanding what I was telling him or anything like that. And so I said, here's what I want you to do. And okay, here's what I want you to do. See, it sounds weird, but when you're skiing, you don't go where your feet point. You go where you look. And where you look is eventually where you're going to go. And that's true for us. Is that where you look is eventually where you're going to go. And if I could add to that, I would say where you think is eventually where you look. So what we want to do tonight is to talk about what it means to declare war on what we allow ourselves to think. And in order to do that, we need to understand some things about what it is that we're allowing ourselves to think about. Did you know that you talk to yourself more than you talk to any other human being ever? Am I right? I think I'm right. But I'm up here saying it. So, but Joseph's like, yeah, I know, because Joseph's probably a lot like me. He thinks about everything that he does, or he does it. So you're talking to yourself. Every single thought that you have is a conversation with yourself. You are consistently talking to yourself. And unfortunately, a lot of what we're talking to ourselves about isn't very beneficial. What we usually leads and feeds our insecurities. And our insecurities lead and feed a miserable life. Our thoughts full of insecurities lead to a miserable life. You might think that it would be the opposite. Like, the more that I think about my insecurities, the better I'll be at overcompensating for those, and therefore the better my life will become. I wish that I could tell you that is true, but it's not. The more you think about your insecurities, the more real and prevalent your insecurities become, and you, instead of overcoming those things, live into those things. Your life becomes more and more miserable. So to overcome that, to step past that, one of the things that we do is we adopt and we wear masks. And we all have masks. We all probably have a lot of masks. Some of us might have a Wednesday night mask, and Sunday morning mass and a Friday night mass, Saturday night mass, Monday through Friday school mass. Some of us probably have a family mass and a friends mass, a job mass and a school mass and a church mass. I can say that because I know for a fact that I did. I, in high school, was not at all like I am now. I kind of was at church. I was actually a little bit more outgoing and bold at church. But at high school, I was pretty shy and kind of this bumbling, stumbling kid who wanted to be cool. And so I thought maybe if I just like step and hang out like close to the cool kids, then I'll be like associated with them. And so I was kind of like this lurker, right? Like people knew who I was and they knew my name, and if you were to ask them, they would say, yeah, she's a pretty cool guy, but he's kind of quiet and he's just kind of there. It wasn't until college that I kind of realized I don't have to be 2, 3, 4 different people. As I went to Ozark Christian College and began to open the Word consistently, I began to understand that God's identity for me is way better and way more important than any identity that I could create or fabricate for myself. I realize that when I understand who I am, I don't have to worry about who I'm not. When you understand who you are, friends, you don't have to worry about who you're not. God's identity for you is way more real, and way more personable, and way more prevalent than any of these masks that we try and wear for ourselves. The problem is that all of this mask wearing starts in our heads with the things that we're thinking about. The good news is that we're not alone. The good news is that every human being who has ever existed has dealt with the same kinds of thoughts and ideas that you guys have. Even Jesus. Say that again. Even Jesus had bad thoughts in his head. See, it wasn't long after his ministry started, he went out into the desert. He was baptized by the Baptist. It says the Spirit drove Jesus out into the wilderness where he was tempted by Satan for 40 days. And maybe Satan showed up to Jesus in physical form. Big, burly, red devil guy with horns and a pitchfork, pointy tail. Maybe. Or maybe Satan showed up and interacted with Jesus in his own head with the thoughts that Jesus thought. That food sure would be good to have some food right now, Jesus. I mean, you're the Son of God. Why don't you just turn those rocks into bread? It sure would be cool, Jesus, if people understood who you were. So why don't you just climb to the top of the tower, Jesus, and throw yourself off, and then call the angels down to save you? Jesus, wouldn't it be great if you didn't have to go to the cross for people to worship you? Wouldn't it be great if all of these people, Jesus, just worshiped you? All you have to do in order to do that is just worship me. It wasn't only at the beginning of Jesus' ministry, but also at the end of his ministry that Jesus had bad thoughts. In the Garden of Gethsemane, as Jesus is pouring blood and sweat, Jesus says to his Father, God, if there is any other way to accomplish salvation without the cross, let's do that. Jesus said, not my will, but yours be done. The good news for us tonight is you are not the things that you think. You are not the things that you think. had temptations. He had ideas in his head that were not the right idea. The difference between Jesus and you and me a lot of the times, I hope we're listening because this is super important. The difference between Jesus and us a lot of the times is not that Jesus didn't have any bad thoughts and we do, but that Jesus did not allow his thoughts to dwell. We do. You guys know what it means to dwell? I was at my buddy's house on Monday night. He let us stay at his place in Joplin, and so after the day that we had on Monday, like our truck almost blew up on the side of the highway, and it was super hot, and I couldn't even get the hood unlocked for a really long time. And rather than helping, Charlie and Dylan and Jake were just sitting in the cab Snapchatting, just like, and you were laughing at it. It's fine. You were laughing, and so finally, after pouring sweat and all of the stuff, we get to try. And so, if that would have happened here, friends, what I would have immediately done upon getting home was go to my house and take my shoes off and just deep couch sit. You know what I'm talking about, right? Not like sitting on the edge all appropriate, but just literally like flopping onto the couch with my sweaty body just like there on the couch, right? But at Jordan and Janie's house, because it's not mine own, I very politely sat on the couch as I talked to them, and I crossed my legs and I sat there for an appropriate amount of time, engaging in a chat and a conversation with them, because I don't dwell there. I dwell at my house, and whenever I'm at my house, I kick my feet up and I make myself at home. Friends, the problem with what we think about is that too often we let our thoughts take their shoes off and kick their feet up and chill at home. We allow them to dwell. Here's what I want you guys to know and understand tonight. You are not responsible for the ideas that come to mind. You are responsible for the ideas that you allow to stay in your mind. You are not responsible for the ideas that come to mind. You are responsible for the ideas that you allow to stay in your mind. So what we have to ask ourselves is, how do we not let that happen? So the second thing that we're going to be talking about tonight, as we declare war on the ideas in our head, is that we have to set up checkpoints. My family, as you know, probably by now, lives in New Hampshire. And I don't know if you know, but New Hampshire is really, really far away. It's really, really far away. So if we're going to spend any quality time with them at all, we're going to have to fly there, not drive there. And by far, I hate flying. I hate it. By far, the worst part of flying is the TSA checkpoint. It's the most annoying thing in the entire world, right? Like, you have to take off your shoes and your necklace and your wallet, your belt, and then you have to stand in this line behind other, like, barefoot or semi-barefooted people, right? Do you ever think about how often they clean that floor? You're darn right it's never, right? So you stand awkwardly, like, almost in the same kind of clothes that Foster wears, like almost in your skivvies, right? And then you wait for this grumpy agent to, like, wave you through, and then you have to, like, stand in this awkward pose, right? For them to check you, and they just, like, blast these invisible lasers through you to make sure that everything's okay. And then you have to stand out here and wait awkwardly and uncomfortably until they tell you you're good, or you have to go be checked more. Fun fact, Samantha always gets pulled to the side. I don't know what it is about, like, her deodorant or something, but it's always like, beep, 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 beep. Ma'am, please pull over to the side. Please, we gotta. And then the TSA agents are all up, like, hands in on my wife, and it's weird and uncomfortable, right? And I just, like, walk through. So I think it's her deodorant. I really do. It's because it's always the same deodorant-y spots. Anyway, so all that to say, friends, come back. The TSA is super annoying, but it accomplishes something for us, right? It allows the good to come through and it stops the bad. And that's not to say that my wife is bad. It just have to check her a little more to make sure that she's good. You need, in your brain, a TSA server. You need a TSA agency in your brain, a checkpoint. You filter every idea through. Paul says it like this in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. He says, brothers and sisters, it'll be on the screen behind me. Brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. You get to pick what stays in your brain. You get to pick. So think about and fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable, right, pure, lovely, admirable, what is excellent, what is worthy of praise. Friends, this is not just positive thinking for the sake of replacing God. This is positive thinking as a response to God. Our world is all about positive thinking right now. Like, think positively and positive things will happen, right? And they're trying to do that to replace God. That's not what Paul is saying, and that's not what I am saying tonight. You don't have positive ideas and thoughts in your head to replace God. You do that in response to God. As God and the power of the Holy Spirit is working in your hearts and in your life. The only appropriate response to what we are thinking about is positive thinking. So here, this is your filter, and I hope you're paying attention. This is your filter. This is your TSA right here. This is the little lasers, the little invisible lasers in the weird machine that you have to pose weird in. What is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable, what is excellent and worthy of praise. Friends, if they don't, those ideas, if they don't check every single thing on that box, do not let it dwell. So we need to release our insecurities. We need to install a checkpoint. Finally, friends, we need to understand and realize that as we declare war on the things in our head, that it is never, ever, ever too late to change course. It's never too late to change course. There's this really strange and sad book in the Old Testament called Lamentations. And Lamentations is written by a guy named Jeremiah who saw his country and his people who he loved, and who he wrote a whole other book to warning them, saying, if you do not change, exile will come. If you do not change, if you do not stop worshiping fake gods, then there's another kingdom in another country who is going to come and wipe you out. That's the book of Jeremiah. The book of Lamentations is also written by Jeremiah, and it is him seeing what he just warned his country that he loves coming true. Because they didn't pay attention to his warnings. They didn't heed his words. They kept worshiping fake gods, and they were utterly obliviated and sent into exile. And so Jeremiah writes the book of Lamentations. And right smack in the middle of the book of Lamentations, in chapter 3, the tone shifts from sad and rejected and miserable to hopeful. Because Jeremiah realizes that God's plan is bigger than his plan. God's plan is bigger than anything that Jeremiah could have understood. Jeremiah says this: God, great is your faithfulness. Your mercies, his mercies, begin afresh each morning. So in the battle against the things that we allow into our heads, it is never, ever, ever too late to change course. And because it's never, ever, ever too late to change course, and because God is faithful and his mercies begin new every morning, when we find ourselves struggling with things in our mind, what we must teach and train ourselves to do is to create new mornings. What that means is that you don't have to wait for the sun to come up to change your attitude. You don't have to wait for the sun to come back up to change what you're doing, or what you're saying, or what you're thinking about. We can, friends, create for ourselves a new morning whenever we want. Sometimes, if you're lucky, that looks like just taking a nap. I had to do that today. I was wiped out tired, so I was sitting literally like almost falling asleep while I was eating lunch. I was like, I'm going to go home, and for 20 minutes I'm just going to lay down, set an alarm, I'm going to get up, and I'm going to create for myself a new morning. Maybe that's not something that is possible for you, but what you can do is allow yourself to stop and to close your eyes and take a really deep breath, or 2, or 5. Say, God, I don't know if the TSA agents were changing guard or shifts or what, but that idea that I just had in my head, God, that does not check the boxes that you gave for me to check. So God, I need a new morning and new mercies right here, right now. Would you help me? Friends, God's mercies are new every single morning. So create for yourself a new morning whenever you need it. Put your phones down, turn off the music, unplug the AirPods, and allow yourself from your ears, not your phones, and allow yourself to have a new morning so that you can continue to declare war on the things that you allow into your brain. God, thank you that we don't have to do any of this alone, that you are with us every single step of the way, and not only are you with us, God, you're the one who's giving us the power to do it. God, that you are the wolf that rises up in our hearts as we declare war on the things that we think about and the things that we say and the things that we do. So God, help us to shed the masks of insecurities that we wear to allow ourselves to look better. God, help us to define ourselves by what you say about us. God, help us to solve checkpoints. Help us to memorize. We don't talk about scripture memorization here very much, God, but I pray that you would help us to memorize Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. That we would think about that which is pure and lovely and noble and right and good. And anything that doesn't, God, anything that doesn't check that box, we don't allow to dwell. God, thank you for your grace and that you give us new mornings whenever we want them, whenever we need them. With us as we go into our small group, our table groups now, and discuss more of what this might look like for us. Thank you for Jesus, and it's in his name we pray. Amen.